Chosen one, you did not arrive here by chance. You were summoned by divine timing. Heaven scheduled this very moment before you even pressed play. You are standing at the edge of a sacred shift, the kind that rearranges destinies and awakens what has slept for generations. The Spirit of God is moving through this word right now, whispering that what was once hidden is about to be revealed. Chosen one, the hour has come. You are stepping into what the ancient prophets called a kairos moment, the appointed time, the intersection where promise meets manifestation. As it is written in Habakkuk chapter 2 verse 3, though the vision tarries, wait for it will surely come, it will not delay. That delay you've endured was never denial. It was divine preparation. Even now, heaven is aligning the unseen with your obedience. The air around you carries the pulse of new beginnings. The same God who spoke galaxies into motion is speaking your name in this very hour. This is not just another video, it is a prophetic encounter. Stay alert, anointed one, for your moment of unveiling has begun. Chosen one. I want you to slow your mind for a moment and listen, not just with your ears, but with your spirit. Long before books were written, long before churches had walls, long before sermons had pulpits, God spoke through creation. And among all of creation, the heavens have always been his loudest yet quietest voice. Scripture tells us plainly that the heavens declare the glory of God. That was never poetic decoration. That was truth. The stars were not placed randomly. They were not scattered without purpose. They are ordered, measured, and sustained by the same God who sustains you. And chosen ones, those who walk closely with God, have always been able to perceive what others overlook. You see, not everyone looks at the sky and feels something stir in their soul. Many people see stars and think nothing more than light in darkness. But chosen ones feel peace. They feel memory. They feel a reminder of something eternal. That is because your spirit recognizes God's signature. The heavens speak a language that the heart understands before the mind can explain it. This is important for you to hear because some of you have questioned yourselves. You have wondered why certain moments feel heavier, why certain nights feel sacred, why silence feels louder to you than noise. Let me reassure you gently but firmly, you are not imagining this. You are discerning. There is a difference. I remember a season in my own life when I felt this deeply. I would step outside at night, burdened by questions I couldn't answer, carrying weight I didn't know how to release. And in those moments when I looked up at the stars, something shifted. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't a vision or a voice. It was a settling, a quiet knowing that I was not alone, that God was speaking not in words but in presence, and that presence was enough. God has always used the heavens to mark moments. He used a star to announce the arrival of Christ. He used signs in the sky to warn, to guide, and to confirm. But here is where many misunderstand. God does not speak to his chosen ones through fear. He speaks through clarity, peace, and alignment. When the heavens speak to you, they do not confuse you. They settle you. Chosen ones are observers before they are messengers. God trains your eyes before he uses your voice. That is why you notice patterns, timing, and subtle shifts. That is why your spirit reacts before your logic does. The language of the heavens bypasses noise and goes straight to the soul. And only those who have been refined through trials can understand that language without misusing it. I want to be very clear here, because wisdom requires balance. This is not superstition. This is not astrology. This is not chasing signs without grounding. Chosen ones do not worship the stars. They recognize the one who made them. You do not look to the heavens for direction apart from God. You look through the heavens and see God's consistency, His order, His patience, and His authority. That distinction matters because your calling requires sobriety of spirit. God never calls His chosen ones into confusion. He sharpens discernment, not imagination. Run wild. If a sign brings fear, anxiety, or ego, it is not from God. But if it brings calm, reassurance, humility, and stillness, then you are witnessing His handiwork. Some of you have been mentally exhausted, not because life is hard alone, but because you have been carrying unseen weight. You have been strong for too long without rest. And when the mind is tired, God does not shout. He invites you to look up. He reminds you that He is bigger than your worries and closer than your breath. The heavens remind chosen ones of scale. Your problems feel heavy because you are human. But when you look at the stars, your spirit remembers eternity. You remember that God has been faithful long before your current struggle and will remain faithful long after this season passes. That perspective is healing. That is why God uses it. Many of you were called sensitive in ways the world could not understand. You feel deeply. You notice shifts in energy, atmosphere, and emotion. That sensitivity was never weakness. It was training. God tuned your spirit to receive subtle communication so that you would not need constant external validation. You were taught to listen inwardly. The world teaches people to seek noise. God teaches His chosen ones to honor silence, and the heavens are the ultimate classroom of silence. No arguing, no rushing, no pressure. Just steady light shining in darkness night after night without striving. That is how God teaches you endurance. I want you to hear this clearly because some of you have been doubting yourselves. If you feel calm when you look at the stars, that is not escape. That is regulation. God is calming your nervous system. He is reminding your mind that it is safe to rest. That is part of spiritual maturity. Chosen ones are often misunderstood because their depth cannot be rushed. You process life differently. You do not need constant answers. You need truth. And truth often comes quietly. God knows when to speak loudly and when to whisper. The heavens whisper. Tonight, when you look up, do not strain to see something dramatic. Do not force meaning. Simply observe. Let your heart settle. Let your thoughts slow. Let God do the work you have been trying to do yourself. Healing does not always come through effort. Sometimes it comes through surrender. The language of the heavens is not about prediction. It is about remembrance. Remembering who God is. Remembering who you are. Remembering that you are not behind. Remembering that you are held. Chosen one, your ability to perceive God through creation is not accidental. It is cultivated. And as we continue, you will begin to understand why this moment, this night, and this message matters so deeply for you. Stay with me. God is not finished speaking yet, chosen one. I want you to breathe for a moment and let this settle. Tonight matters. Not because something dramatic has to happen, not because the sky must split open, but because your spirit has arrived at a quiet intersection. God often chooses nights like this, when the world slows down, when distractions soften, when your defenses are lowered to speak in ways that do not compete with noise. You have been carrying more than you admit. You keep going. You stay faithful. You pray even when your prayers feel heavy. You believe even when answers delay. And God has seen every moment of your endurance. Tonight is not about reward. It is about reassurance. God knows when His chosen ones are tired, and He does not shame them for it. He meets them gently. There are seasons when God pushes, and there are seasons when He steadies. Tonight is about steadying. You may not have noticed it consciously, but your soul has been asking for confirmation, not direction. You are not asking, "What should I do?" You are asking, "Am I still seen?" And that question matters deeply to God. Chosen ones often reach a point where they no longer need applause, validation, or explanation. They need peace. They need to feel held again. That is why tonight is significant. God restores perspective before He restores momentum. He calms the heart before He moves the hands. You did not come here by coincidence. Timing is one of God's most precise tools. When a message reaches you at the exact moment your resistance has softened, that is divine intelligence at work. God waits until you are ready to receive, without forcing, without striving, without panic. Tonight is not rushed. It is intentional. Some of you have felt a strange stillness recently, not emptiness stillness, and you wondered if something was wrong. Let me correct that gently. Stillness is not absence. It is alignment. God often quiets the external so you can finally hear the internal. And tonight that quiet is purposeful. The night has always been sacred. It is when God spoke to prophets. It is when dreams carried messages. It is when fear and faith wrestled and faith prevailed. The night strips away performance. There is no audience, no expectations, just honesty. God meets His chosen ones there because nothing is hidden in the dark when you are walking with Him. Tonight, the heavens are not demanding your attention. They are offering you rest. They are reminding you that God works even when you are still, that He sustains creation without anxiety, that His plans do not depend on your constant effort. That truth alone can ease a tired mind. You have been strong for too long without permission to rest. You felt responsible for holding everything together, but God never asked you to carry what only He can hold. Tonight is significant because it invites you to put something down. Worry, pressure, self-blame, the need to figure it all out. Chosen ones often confuse faithfulness with exhaustion, but God never intended obedience to drain you completely. He restores strength before He assigns new responsibility. Tonight is restoration. You may feel emotional without knowing why, or calm in a way that surprises you, or reflective without sadness. These are signs of recalibration. God is realigning your inner world. That work happens quietly. There is no announcement, no trumpet, just peace returning where tension lived too long. Do not measure tonight by what you see externally. Measure it by what shifts internally. If your breathing slows, if your thoughts soften, if your heart feels lighter, that is the sign God is near. Some of you have been asking for clarity about your future. But God knows your heart needed reassurance about your present. He is not distant. He is not disappointed. He is not delayed. He is precise. And tonight, He wants you to feel safe again. The significance of tonight is not that something begins. It is that something releases. Release of fear. Release of urgency. Release of self-doubt. When those leave, clarity follows naturally. Chosen one, you are not behind. You are not late. You are not missing anything. God is not rushing you because He is not anxious. Tonight is proof of that. He allowed you to slow down because slowing down is sometimes the most spiritual act of all. I have walked through seasons where I felt like I was falling behind while everyone else was moving forward, where I questioned whether my obedience even mattered. And in those moments, God would remind me not through a loud word, but through a quiet knowing that His timing is not measured by productivity. It is measured by alignment, and alignment requires stillness. As you look up tonight, do not search for answers. Let peace find you. Let reassurance settle in your chest. Let God remind you that He has been with you every step, even in silence. This night is significant because it restores trust. Trust in God, trust in timing, trust in yourself as someone He has chosen and sustained. And as we continue, you will begin to see how this quiet moment fits perfectly into the larger story God is writing through your life. Chosen one. I want you to understand something gently, without pressure, without mystery, and without fear. God does not only heal through miracles that shock the senses. He heals through calm. He heals through remembrance. He heals through moments that slow your thoughts enough for your heart to catch up. And one of the ways He does this is through the quiet language of the stars. When you look up at the night sky, something happens inside you before you even realize it. Your breathing changes. Your thoughts stretch out instead of colliding. The tight grip your mind has been holding begins to loosen. That is not coincidence. That is regulation. God designed awe as medicine for the soul. Chosen ones often carry tension they never talk about. You are strong, dependable, spiritually aware, and emotionally deep. People lean on you. Situations lean on you. Even silence leans on you. And over time, that weight settles into your nervous system. You may still function, but you feel tired in a way sleep alone cannot fix. God knows this about you. That is why healing for chosen ones is rarely loud. It is rarely dramatic. God heals you by reminding your body and mind that it is safe. The stars do that. They speak stability. Night after night they appear without anxiety, without striving, without effort. They simply shine. That consistency tells your spirit you can rest. God is still holding everything. Some of you have been fighting thoughts you never expected to have. Worry, overthinking, self-questioning, emotional fatigue. You asked yourself why, even with faith, your mind feels heavy at times. Let me speak truth into that space. Faith does not remove the human nervous system. It teaches it where to rest, and God is teaching you how to rest again. The stars are not there to impress you. They are there to ground you. They remind you that God's work does not depend on urgency, that His plans unfold over time, that nothing He creates is rushed. And when your mind absorbs that truth, something inside you softens. Healing often begins when pressure ends, when you stop forcing clarity, when you stop demanding answers, when you stop rehearsing every possible outcome. The heavens teach you to release control without losing faith. That is a rare and sacred lesson. Chosen ones are often healers themselves. You listen deeply, you encourage wisely, you carry compassion naturally. But healers forget to receive healing. You give reassurance better than you accept it. You counsel others better than you comfort yourself. And God sees that imbalance tonight. He invites you to receive. There is inner healing hidden in stillness. When you stare at the stars, your mind cannot multitask the way it usually does. It cannot rush. It cannot argue. It cannot plan 10 steps ahead. It pauses. That pause allows God to reach places in you that noise cannot access. Some of you are carrying old emotional residue. Memories that no longer hurt sharply but still influence how you move. Disappointments you never fully processed. Losses you learned to survive instead of grieve. God does not shame you for that. He knows survival was necessary. But now healing is possible. The stars remind you that light can exist alongside darkness without fighting it. They do not erase the night. They illuminate within it. That is how God heals chosen ones. He does not deny your pain. He brings light into it until it no longer controls you. You may notice tonight that thoughts slow down, or emotions rise gently and then pass, or a sense of calm settles without explanation. Do not analyze it. Do not resist it. That is your system releasing stored tension. That is healing in progress. God often heals the mind before he changes circumstances, because a calm mind can endure what a frantic mind cannot. And chosen ones are called to endure wisely, not desperately. There is also humility in looking at the stars. You remember that you are part of something vast, that your story matters, but it is not alone, that God has been faithful across generations, across seasons, across silence. That realization eases the pressure you place on yourself to have everything figured out right now. Some of you have been blaming yourselves quietly, wondering if you missed something, if you failed spiritually, if you misunderstood God. Let me correct that with authority and compassion. God is not disappointed in you. Growth often looks like confusion before it looks like clarity. Healing often looks like fatigue before it looks like strength. The stars do not demand explanation for their presence. They exist because God placed them there. You do not need to justify your worth through productivity, suffering, or perfection. You exist because God chose you. That truth alone can heal deeply. Chosen one inner healing is not about becoming someone new overnight. It is about returning to who you were before fear hardened you, before pressure shaped you too sharply, before expectations drowned your peace. God restores. He does not replace. As you sit under the stars, allow yourself to be small without feeling insignificant. There is freedom in that. You do not have to carry the universe. God already does. This is mental therapy in its purest form. No forcing, no fixing, just remembering truth. You are safe, you are guided, you are held, and God is gently healing you in ways you may only fully recognize later. Do not rush this moment. Healing does not respond well to urgency. Let it unfold. Let your breath slow. Let your shoulders drop. Let your heart unclench. The stars are not just above you. They are working within you. And the God who placed them there knows exactly how to heal his chosen ones quietly, faithfully, and completely. Chosen one. Let me take this a little deeper, because some healing happens beneath awareness. There are wounds you learned to live around, not because they were healed, but because life required you to keep moving. You adapted, you became functional, you became reliable. But adaptation is not the same as restoration. God knows the difference even when you no longer feel the pain clearly. The quiet of the night allows what was buried to breathe without overwhelming you. That is why God often heals in stillness. He does not rip old wounds open. He loosens them gently, layer by layer, until they no longer bind you. If emotions surface tonight without clear reason, let them pass. Tears are not weakness. They are release. Some of you have been holding grief in your body, not dramatic grief, but quiet grief. The grief of unmet expectations, the grief of misunderstood obedience, the grief of outgrowing places and people you once loved. The stars bear witness to that without judgment. They remind you that seasons change without apology. I remember walking through a season where I felt stuck between versions of myself. The person I used to be no longer fit, but the person I was becoming had not yet arrived. I grieved friendships that had naturally faded. I mourned opportunities that closed before I understood why. And for a long time I thought something was wrong with me. But God was teaching me that grief is not always about loss. Sometimes it is about transition, and transition requires mourning what was even when what is coming is better. God is also healing your relationship with rest. You were taught directly or indirectly that rest must be earned through exhaustion, but God never demanded burnout as proof of faithfulness. He restores first, then sends. The stars teach you how to exist without striving, and that lesson heals deep inner pressure. Chosen one, you do not need to be alert tonight. You do not need to be spiritually on guard. You are not missing anything by resting. In fact, your rest is part of your obedience. God trusts you enough to let you breathe. So receive this healing without trying to understand it fully. Let it settle into your bones. Let it soften the places you hardened to survive. God is not rushing your recovery. He is committed to it. And the same heavens that declare His glory tonight are quietly declaring your restoration as well. There is something profound happening in this moment that many will overlook, but you will not. Because God has trained your spirit to recognize what others dismiss. Tonight is not just about looking at stars. It is about allowing God to rewire the way you carry weight, to recalibrate the way you process pressure, to remind you that you were never meant to hold everything alone. Some of you have been operating in survival mode for so long that you forgot what peace feels like. You have been managing crisis after crisis, carrying burden after burden that your nervous system normalized tension. And now, even when things are calm, your body does not know how to rest. Your mind stays alert. Your heart stays guarded. But God is reversing that tonight. He is teaching your body that it is safe to let go. That safety is not found in control, but in trust. That peace is not the absence of challenge, but the presence of God within it. This is not surface-level healing. This is cellular. This is the kind of restoration that happens when you stop trying to fix yourself and let God reach the places you cannot access on your own. You may not feel different immediately. You may not wake up tomorrow with everything resolved, but something will have shifted. A heaviness you have carried will feel lighter. A fear that once controlled you will lose its grip. A lie you believed about yourself will lose its voice. That is how God heals chosen ones. Not with fanfare, but with faithfulness. Not with drama, but with depth. Not all at once, but layer by layer, until what once bound you can no longer hold you. And here is what I need you to understand, anointed one. This healing is not just for you. It is preparation for what God is about to release through you. He is restoring you so you can carry what is coming without breaking under its weight. He is healing you so your assignment does not drain you. He is renewing your mind so your calling does not confuse you. God never heals without purpose. And the fact that He is meeting you here tonight under these stars in this stillness tells me that something significant is about to shift in your life. Not because you earned it, not because you figured it out, but because God scheduled it. And His timing is perfect. So do not rush this moment. Do not minimize what is happening. Do not talk yourself out of what you are feeling. God is doing something sacred in the silence. And the stars are bearing witness to your restoration. Stay with me, chosen one. We are going deeper still. Chosen one, now that your spirit has slowed and your heart has softened, it is time to speak about responsibility. Not in a way that weighs you down, but in a way that grounds you. God never heals without purpose. He restores before He reveals, and what He reveals to His chosen ones is not a burden, but a calling shaped by wisdom. Many people misunderstand what it means to be chosen. They imagine authority without refinement, purpose without patience, influence without discipline. But God does not operate that way. Chosen ones are not selected for visibility first. They are selected for depth, and depth requires preparation. Your assignment has never been about rushing ahead. It has always been about seeing clearly. That is why God trained your eyes before He trained your voice. That is why you notice what others dismiss. That is why you feel when something is off, even when words say otherwise. Discernment is not accidental. It is cultivated through obedience, endurance, and quiet faithfulness. Chosen ones are watchers before they are speakers. God teaches you how to observe without reacting, how to listen without interrupting, how to understand without judging. These are not passive traits. They are marks of authority. Anyone can speak. Few can see. You may have felt frustration at times because your growth felt slow, because your progress did not match your potential, because you knew there was more in you than what was currently expressed. But restraint is not delay. It is training. God teaches His chosen ones how to carry responsibility without being consumed by it. Responsibility in God's kingdom is not about control. It is about stewardship. You are entrusted with insight, not dominance, with wisdom, not pressure, with influence, not ego. That is why God often removes His chosen ones from noisy environments, not to isolate them permanently, but to protect their clarity. You have likely experienced seasons of separation, moments when relationships fell away, when conversations no longer satisfied, when your inner world expanded while your external world simplified. That was not punishment. That was preparation. God removes distractions before He releases direction. Chosen ones are misunderstood because they do not operate on urgency. They operate on timing. The world pushes for immediacy. God develops discernment, and discernment cannot be rushed. Your responsibility is not to convince others of your calling. It is to remain faithful to it. God never asked you to explain yourself to everyone. He asked you to walk uprightly before Him. That alone is enough. Some of you have felt guilt for resting, for stepping back, for choosing silence. But wisdom knows when to speak and when to observe. Jesus Himself withdrew often, not because He lacked power, but because He honored alignment. You are allowed to pause without abandoning purpose. There is also responsibility in how you carry knowledge. Not every truth is meant to be broadcast. Not every insight is meant to be shared immediately. God reveals in layers because people receive in layers. Chosen ones learn patience not only with others, but with themselves. You are not required to fix everything you see. That is a heavy lesson, but a freeing one. God did not appoint you as Savior. He appointed you as servant. There is humility in that, and humility protects your mental health, your spiritual clarity, and your longevity. Some of you have tried to carry others too early. You felt responsible for their healing, their choices, their outcomes. That weight was never yours. God corrects that gently. He teaches chosen ones to love without over-functioning, to care without controlling, to guide without draining. Responsibility also means discernment in obedience. Not every opportunity is divine. Not every open door is God-sent. Chosen ones learn to recognize peace as confirmation. If something demands constant anxiety, fear, or self-betrayal, it is not aligned with God's voice. You are responsible for guarding your spirit, for protecting your peace, for maintaining clarity. That is not selfishness. That is stewardship. A clouded mind cannot lead well. A depleted soul cannot pour wisely. God is not measuring your worth by output. He is shaping your character for longevity. Chosen ones are built to last, not to burn out. That is why your growth feels intentional, even slow. God is not in a hurry because He sees the full picture. Some of you are carrying quiet leadership. People watch you without telling you. They listen to how you speak. They observe how you respond. They notice your restraint. That influence matters more than applause. God values integrity over recognition. Your assignment may not be fully visible yet. That does not mean it is absent. Seeds grow underground first. Roots deepen in darkness. God builds foundation before structure. If He revealed everything too soon, it would overwhelm you. Responsibility also means trusting God with outcomes. You do your part. You remain faithful. You stay aligned, and you release the rest. Control is not faith. Trust is. Chosen one. Your calling is not fragile. It does not depend on constant action. It depends on obedience, clarity, and humility. God is not waiting for you to become perfect. He is guiding you to become anchored. Tonight, as you reflect under the stars, remember this: you are not behind. You are being prepared. You are not overlooked. You are being refined. And the responsibility God has placed on you is matched by the grace He supplies. Walk steadily. Rest wisely. Observe deeply. Speak when led. That is how chosen ones carry their assignment without losing their peace. Chosen one. Now we must speak with clarity and balance, because where there is calling, there is resistance. Not everything you experience is spiritual warfare, but spiritual warfare does exist, and God does not want you afraid of it. He wants you anchored. True spiritual warfare does not announce itself with drama. It often shows up as mental fatigue, subtle doubt, emotional heaviness, or distraction. It tries to pull you out of alignment quietly. That is why discernment is one of your greatest protections. Discernment keeps you steady when emotions fluctuate and circumstances feel uncertain. Fear is not a sign of God's voice. Urgency that creates panic is not divine instruction. God's guidance carries peace even when it calls for courage. If something pressures you into haste, confusion, or self-betrayal, pause. Anchoring yourself in calm is not avoidance, it is wisdom. Chosen ones are often targeted mentally before anything else. Not because you are weak, but because your mind is influential. If the enemy can cloud your thinking, he can slow your obedience. That is why guarding your thoughts is not optional. It is spiritual discipline. But let me be clear so you do not misinterpret this. Discernment is not suspicion. Being spiritually aware does not mean being hypervigilant. God does not call you to live on edge. He calls you to live rooted. Paranoia drains the soul. Discernment strengthens it. You stay anchored by returning to truth consistently, not emotionally, but intentionally. Truth steadies you when feelings fluctuate. Scripture, prayer, and stillness are not rituals. They are anchors. They remind you who God is when noise tries to redefine reality. Some of you have felt moments of doubt recently and wondered if your faith was weakening. Let me correct that gently. Questioning is not the absence of faith. It is often the refinement of it. Faith that has never been questioned has never been tested. God is not threatened by your honesty. Spiritual warfare often loses power when you stop fighting it emotionally. You do not win by obsessing. You win by staying aligned. You resist by remaining grounded. Calm is not surrender. Calm is authority. Chosen ones are protected. But protection does not mean isolation from challenge. It means stability within it. God does not remove every obstacle. He strengthens your footing. That way, when storms pass, you remain standing. You stay anchored by maintaining balance. Rest when needed. Withdraw when necessary. Speak when led. Silence is sometimes a shield. Not every thought deserves attention. Not every feeling requires action. Some of you need to hear this clearly. Not every low moment is an attack. Sometimes your soul is simply asking for rest. Over-spiritualizing exhaustion can delay healing. God does not want you constantly diagnosing your state. He wants you present with Him. The enemy thrives in extremes. God works in steadiness. If you feel pulled toward fear or pride, toward despair or superiority that is imbalance, return to center, return to humility, return to trust. Anchoring yourself also means remembering past faithfulness. God has already brought you through things you once thought would break you. That history matters. It is evidence. When doubt whispers, memory answers. You do not need to be constantly alert. God is vigilant on your behalf. Your role is not to scan for danger, but to stay aligned with truth. Light does not strain to overcome darkness. It simply shines. Chosen one's spiritual warfare loses its grip when you refuse to abandon peace. Peace is not passive. It is power under control. It is confidence without noise. Stay rooted. Stay sober in spirit. Stay humble. God is not testing your fear tolerance. He is strengthening your trust. And as we move forward, remember this. You are not navigating this alone. God is not distant. He is present, protective, and precise. Stay anchored. The ground beneath you is firmer than you think. Let me expand this with care, chosen one, because staying anchored is not something you do once. It is something you practice daily, gently, without obsession. Many of you think strength means being unaffected. But spiritual strength is the ability to feel without being ruled by what you feel. That balance is learned, not assumed. One of the ways spiritual warfare tries to unsettle chosen ones is through identity erosion. Quiet thoughts like, maybe I'm not who I thought I was, or maybe I misunderstood my calling, or maybe I should be further along by now. These thoughts do not arrive loudly. They slip in during fatigue. That is why rest is a weapon the enemy hates. A rested mind is harder to deceive. Anchoring yourself means returning to what God has already confirmed, not chasing new reassurance every time discomfort appears. Repeated confirmation seeking often signals anxiety, not faith. God has already spoken more than you realize. Your task is to remember not to reinvent truth every time emotions shift. Another subtle battlefield is comparison. You look around and see others moving faster, being seen more, receiving recognition. And without realizing it, your peace begins to leak. Comparison is not always envy. Sometimes it is simply disorientation. It makes you question your pace, your path, your worth. But God never called you to keep up. He called you to stay aligned. Chosen ones walk narrow paths by design. Fewer voices, fewer validations, more responsibility for inner clarity. That solitude is not abandonment. It is protection. Not everyone needs access to you. Not every opinion deserves space in your mind. Anchoring means choosing whose voice you allow to shape your inner world. You also stay anchored by recognizing when to disengage. Not every argument requires defense. Not every misunderstanding needs correction. Jesus himself remained silent at times, not because he lacked truth, but because silence was wisdom. There is power in knowing when not to respond. Spiritual warfare weakens when you stop reacting impulsively. Reaction drains energy. Discernment conserves it. If something pulls you toward emotional extremes, pause, return to breath, return to prayer, return to stillness. You do not need immediate answers. You need grounding. Some of you have been tempted to label every hardship as an attack, but hardship is part of growth. Resistance does not always mean opposition. Sometimes it means strengthening. Muscles grow through resistance, so does character. God allows pressure, but He never abandons you within it. Anchoring also means caring for your physical body. This matters more than many spiritual people admit. Fatigue, hunger, lack of sleep, and overstimulation can distort perception. God created your body as part of your spiritual life, not separate from it. Taking care of yourself is not lack of faith. It is wisdom. You remain anchored by humility. Not shrinking humility, but grounded humility. Knowing you are chosen but not superior. Knowing you are guided but still learning. Pride isolates. Humility keeps you teachable. God resists pride because it destabilizes the soul. Humility stabilizes it. Let me say this plainly. If your spiritual life increases fear, anxiety, or obsession, something is misaligned. God's presence may convict, but it never terrorizes. It may correct, but it never shames. It may challenge, but it always strengthens. Peace is not the absence of battle. It is confidence in God's presence within it. When you stay anchored, warfare loses urgency. Its power weakens. Calm endurance outlasts chaos every time. Chosen one, you do not need to be hyper-aware. You need to be well-rooted. You do not need to fight everything. You need to trust God with what you cannot control. Remain anchored in truth. Remain anchored in rest. Remain anchored in humility. God is not watching to see if you panic. He is watching to see if you trust. And trust, quiet and steady, is one of the strongest spiritual positions you can hold. I have learned this through seasons of warfare that felt relentless. There were moments when I believed every setback was a direct attack, every closed door was sabotage, every delay was the enemy's doing. And while spiritual opposition is real, I was exhausting myself by fighting battles God never asked me to fight. The shift came when I stopped reacting and started responding. When I stopped diagnosing every struggle as warfare and started asking God, "What are you teaching me here?" That question changed everything. Because sometimes the resistance we face is not an attack, it is an invitation to grow stronger, wiser, and more dependent on God. Anchoring is not about becoming unmovable, it is about knowing where your stability comes from. It is about recognizing that your peace is not determined by external circumstances, but by internal alignment with God's presence. Some of you have been shaken recently. And you wondered why, if you are truly chosen, you still feel unstable at times. Let me speak life into that question. Being chosen does not mean you will never be tested. It means you will never be abandoned during the test. God does not shield His chosen ones from every storm. He anchors them within the storm. He does not remove every obstacle. He strengthens their footing so they can stand when the winds blow. And when the storm passes, and it will pass, you will still be standing. Not because you were stronger than the storm, but because you were rooted in something stronger than yourself. That is the difference between striving and trusting. Striving says, "I must hold myself together." Trusting says, "God is holding me." Striving exhausts, trusting anchors. And here is what the enemy does not want you to know. Your rest is a threat to his plans. Your peace disrupts his strategy. Your calm in the middle of chaos confuses his attacks, because he cannot defeat someone who refuses to be moved by fear. So when you feel the pressure rising, when thoughts start racing, when anxiety tries to take the lead, pause, breathe, remember who you are, remember whose you are, remember that God has not brought you this far to let you fall now. Anchoring is a daily practice. It is choosing truth over feelings. It is choosing stillness over reaction. It is choosing faith over fear, even when fear feels louder. You do not need to have all the answers. You do not need to see the full picture. You do not need to understand every detail of what God is doing. You just need to stay anchored. And when you do, you will discover that the ground beneath you is far more solid than you thought. Chosen one, the storms will come. The opposition will rise. The doubts will whisper. But you are not defined by what shakes you. You are defined by what holds you. And what holds you is stronger than anything that comes against you. Stay anchored. Stay grounded. Stay rooted in the truth that God is with you, for you, and will not let you go. As we move into the final part of this message, I want you to prepare your heart for what God is about to reveal, because everything we have covered, the healing, the responsibility, the warfare, the anchoring, has been leading to this moment. Stay with me. We are almost there. Chosen one, preparation in God's kingdom does not look like tension or anticipation that steals your peace. It looks like openness. It looks like trust without demand. It looks like a heart that is willing to receive without needing to control how or when things unfold. That is the posture God is inviting you into now. Many people think preparation means effort, doing more, praying harder, analyzing deeper. But often, preparation means clearing space, letting go of mental clutter, releasing expectations you placed on God that He never promised, making room for truth to arrive gently instead of forcing revelation through pressure. God reveals according to readiness, not desire. Desire can be intense, but readiness is calm. Readiness trusts God's timing even when curiosity remains unanswered. If you feel a quiet openness within you, that is not emptiness. That is space God has created intentionally. Preparing your heart means softening, not straining. You do not prepare by tightening your grip on outcomes. You prepare by loosening it. Control closes the heart. Trust opens it. And God speaks most clearly to open hearts. Some of you have been waiting for clarity before allowing yourselves peace. You told yourself you would rest once things made sense. But God is reversing that order. He is giving you peace first, so clarity can come without distortion. A calm heart hears better than an anxious one. Preparation also involves surrendering timing. You want to know when. God wants you to know who. When you know who is guiding you, the timing becomes less urgent. God is not withholding information to frustrate you. He is protecting you from information you are not meant to carry yet. Chosen ones sometimes confuse anticipation with readiness. Anticipation looks forward anxiously. Readiness stands present peacefully. God prepares His chosen ones by anchoring them in the now, not pulling them obsessively into the future. There is also preparation in humility. You must remain teachable. Revelation is not a reward for spiritual achievement. It is a gift entrusted to those who will handle it with reverence. Pride distorts revelation. Humility clarifies it. Some of you are being prepared to see differently, not to do more. God often changes perception before He changes position. When your perspective shifts, your actions naturally follow. That is why preparation feels internal before it becomes visible. Preparing your heart also means accepting that not everything God reveals comes with immediate explanation. Sometimes He gives you a glimpse, a sense, a reassurance, long before He gives language. That does not mean you missed something. It means He's unfolding things in order. You may feel drawn to stillness lately. Less talking, less reacting, less proving. That is preparation. God is reducing noise so His voice does not have to compete. Silence is not emptiness. It is attention. Let go of the pressure to interpret everything perfectly. God is not testing your accuracy. He is guiding your growth. If something is meant for you, it will settle naturally, not demand constant decoding. Preparing your heart also includes forgiveness, not dramatic forgiveness, but quiet release. Releasing resentment, releasing disappointment, releasing old self-judgments. These take up space. Revelation needs room. Forgiveness clears the ground. Chosen one, preparation does not mean bracing yourself. It means trusting yourself in God's hands. You do not need to harden to receive truth. You need to soften. Stay present. Stay open. Stay grounded. God reveals at the pace that protects your peace, and what He is preparing you for will not overwhelm you, because He never reveals without supplying grace. As we come closer to the end, remember this: you are not waiting on God as much as you think. He has been gently preparing you all along. Every quiet season, every closed door, every moment of confusion, every delay you could not understand, it was all preparation. God was not absent. He was working beneath the surface, shaping your character, refining your discernment, deepening your trust. And now tonight, as you stand under these stars, something is culminating, not ending, culminating. You are stepping into a moment where everything God has been building in secret is about to become visible, not all at once, not with fanfare, but with undeniable clarity. You will begin to see why certain relationships had to end, why certain opportunities closed, why certain prayers were not answered the way you expected. You will begin to understand that God was not saying no. He was saying, not yet. He was saying, I have something better. He was saying, trust me. Chosen one tonight is not just about seeing heaven in the stars. It is about recognizing heaven's hand in your story. It is about acknowledging that every step, even the painful ones, has been guided. It is about releasing the need to have all the answers and resting in the assurance that God knows exactly what He is doing. Your preparation is complete. Your heart is ready. Your spirit is aligned. And what comes next will not be something you manufacture. It will be something you receive. So stay still. Stay open, stay anchored. Let the heavens remind you one more time that you are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. You are not behind. You are exactly where you need to be for what God is about to release. The stars have been shining long before you looked up tonight, and they will continue shining long after this moment passes. But tonight, they are bearing witness to something sacred: your awakening, your restoration, your divine alignment. This is not the end, chosen one. This is the beginning of something you have been waiting for your entire life. And it starts now under the open heavens, in the stillness, with God's voice whispering what only your spirit can hear. Stay with me for the conclusion. God has one more word for you. Chosen one. Before we close, rest in this truth. You are not late. You are not forgotten. You are exactly where God needs you to be. Tonight, let the heavens remind you that He has been ordering your steps all along. You are guided, protected, and deeply known. Lift your eyes open, your heart rest, your mind. God is with you always.